Now here's another example. Hildesheimer and Faulkner is another one of those companies that makes Christmas cards, and this is one I look for all the time. This is a good manufacturer. It's a British printed card, well, a British design card from a British company, but it was printed in Germany, from what I understand. Anthropomorphic as well. There's the pudding on the table, as I said. It's just a big round ball, it looks like, but that's Christmas pudding. And it's a big thing back then. I haven't looked into the history on it, but any of this stuff like this, usually you can expect to get at least $50 or more. 104 on this one, just to give an example. Now, Hallmark ones, and I've run into some, and I've showed packs of them. Now, Hallmark ones from the 60s, 70s, and 80s show up still unused all the time, just because the store didn't sell them, and many times they'll show up in, like, overstock sales, instead of warehouse sales and things like that. This is a complete box, $103 for these. Betsy Clark was a line that they had. This is the Charmer set. So anyway, nice example here. And I just got one more just to show you that there's more than just that. I think they made 2 or 3 sets of these each year. Just another example, $100 for this one here. And it's a couple boxes too, it looks like. Now here's another random one. Plus mark, nothing really fancy, nothing really special. It's an American Greeting Card Company. Not super old either by the markings on it as well. $100 for a box of 18 unused. There's the box. So rather cute either way you go. The Angel usually sells these kind of things. It's unsigned. There's no artist name tied to this at all. It's just the design. Little cute angels and cherubs and fairies and things like that usually sell for us. Or Santa doing something oddball and unique. Now here's a Gordon Fraser. Well, actually, it's a lot of Gordon Fraser. Now this is the typical kind of cards that you'll find just thrown in big lots. This is just one artist now. If you look up Christmas cards, there's dozens and dozens of other artists from the 50s all the way up through the 90s and 2000 era that did, specialty cards like this. Not in huge mass quantities, but they're collectible as well. Usually the hedgehog is what gives these away. For me personally, as soon as I see a hedgehog on a Christmas card or any type of card, I usually look it up to make sure it's not, a Fraser card. So just keep that in mind on some of these. Probably you've never heard of Gordon Fraser, but I would honestly recommend you type in Gordon Fraser and just see what I'm talking about. I have a few more of these, I think, as well, too. Yeah, another grouping of Gordon Fraser. Again, he does mice and other things, but hedgehogs usually what I find more of than anything else. Just look for Gordon Fraser. His characters are all similar in style. There's books that Gordon Fraser is illustrated to, kids' books and things like that, too. There's many other ones. There's Dr. Seuss Christmas cards from the 50s and 60s. Those are fairly scarce, even the mass-produced ones, but just keep that in mind when you're looking at these. Now let's see what this one says. This one literally says gay greetings. No derogatory mark intended, of course. This is from the 50s. The reindeer is what sold this one. I can pretty much guarantee you. The bunny rabbit's not too bad either. Snowman so-so, but that reindeer is like a nice image. That's the selling factor on here. Now, if I was going to list this, that would be a zoom in. I would scan one of the reindeers, and that would be the main image, and then show the rest in here. I'd brighten it up a little bit. No discouragement on theirs. You do what you can with what you have. So either way, this was a good sale for them in my book. I like the Santa Claus cards. In general, this one's a good one for the reindeer aspect. $100 basically. Now here's a British card with a Sikh Golden Temple in it. You'll find oddball stuff like that. Now this one says Tuck card too, if you notice. This is a Raphael Tuck. So any of this kind of stuff, you'll find them. It's probably not a real photo. It's just probably a printed design. But again, it could possibly be a real photo. I doubt it, though, just by the looks of it. There are cards for all, just you name it, they've made cards for. And you can see a price. It looks like somebody paid $10 for it, too, if you look up on the top left on the zoom up here. And they sold it for $100. This would be an example of something that I might see for $10 somewhere. Would I buy it for $10? Probably so, just because it's such a rare item, especially being Raphael Tuck. So if it wasn't Tuck, I would have probably thought about not buying it. But they should have probably put Raphael Tuck, taken off the Made in England and just put Raphael Tuck up there. That would have probably sold it for a little more, in my opinion. The location hurts it a little bit, being from India as well. Now here is rather interesting. Now this one says Mother Christmas with Toys and Holly. That is probably Mother Christmas. I've seen it listed, though, as Mother Goose, which that same image basically is a Mother Goose image as well. So who knows what they want to use it for. But that ray of Dresden gilt behind her, you'll see in many other cards as well from this era. It was a big thing. Ray and brightness and the whole works. $96 on this one. I would have been happy to find this one. Again, postcard size right here. Another unused Christmas cards. Norcross is another well-known name. This is a box of 24. Rather cute, interesting. Now, a scan of this one would have probably done better because you can see it's kind of washed out a little bit, or I would have darkened this up for sure. That's why I talk about darkening up the images and making sure the white's white and the red on their hats would probably be where I would have centered in to make sure that was red. It is a little washed out. It probably would have sold a little better if they did a zoom in just on the mice themselves and got rid of the red border on the front. Still $95, no complaints. Anthropomorphic cats again. I've had this exact same one. In fact, I might show you. I don't remember if it's one of the ones I picked, but there's a whole series of these cats. There might be 3 or 4 companies that make similar cards, all the same size and shape and design with rounded corners just like this. So this is something, and there's the cats eating pudding and all kinds of different things. All of those are worth some money, $93. On average, I get $57.50 or greater for any one of these style of cards, every single time. Now this is Douglas Fairbanks' family. Is he actually in it too? I would say that is Douglas Fairbanks from the way it looks. Just another perfect example of things that you could turn up in a regular family's estate. It doesn't have to be something you find in the Douglas Fairbanks estate collection, but again, this stuff does show up. This is from California, so you've got a better chance on finding this type of things, you know, in California, just because there's more people famous that lived there at that time. $92 for 4 of these. So again, they're not super rare and they're not worth a fortune. You know, on average, $22, $23 a piece is what you would get for some of these. Again, because they're not super rare. Now here's an Australian, for those from Australia, World War I Princess Mary Christmas card. Good example of things that you could find. This is from Australia, so they found this at a pick. Now, looking at the face of it, does this look like anything to anybody that much? Does this look like something that would be worth a decent amount of money? Not really, in all honesty. You know, it says who it's from. There's no signature. It's just a mass-produced card. It went for $89, 17 bids. It's a fairly scarce one, I would say. I have not seen this one, but of course, I'm not in Australia. This type of item doesn't show up over here that often. I am sure, though, that there would be some from Australia in this country. Bringbacks from World War I and World War II for sure. Now, here is a Punch and Judy Christmas. Now, this is a Marcus Ward. This is one of their advertisements for their company as well, too. So, and it's got little broke down segments of it, and people will sell these individually as well, to each into one of these cards as one single card. Now it goes together as a set, but you can separate these. These are meant to be separated from what I've seen from all of the past experiences, or people will just cut them apart. No one would ever probably know because there's usually nothing on the back of those, as you see here. So again, this is like 6 different cards. I would have probably sold it together too because it's not damaged. I would have probably put much higher and just let it ride, though. Marcus Ward is nowhere near as popular as Raphael Tuck, though, so just keep that in mind. Anthropomorphic cat postman die cut. There's a ton of these die cut ones. They'll be mixed up with cards all the way up into the 20s and 30s constantly. Kids save these. It's like the trade card of the day to some extent. And that's what they were meant for. They were meant to be collected more so than the ones you see nowadays. They're on thick cardstock. They're geared towards kids and cutesy images like this. So $85 on this one. Again, where I find stuff like this more often than not will be in 1920s lots of cards and in that era, just because people saved and held on to these cards more so than most of the other ones because of the quality of the cards, the quality of the image. And I wished I could zoom in here, but I can't to show you what the markings are. But either way, $83 on this one. Liberace card. Now there's a couple of these up here. It's not just a one-off thing. Some of these would be hand signed by him as well. Subject matter doesn't matter. I don't really care who it is. As long as it holds a value and I can sell it, that's all that really matters on this one. $80. So again, this is not super rare. And this is a bigger card. It's not some small, tiny one. Ivan Earl again. So again, look at the image. Is this something fancy to you? Does this look unique? It's like a silkscreen image is all basically what this design is. There's probably only one, two, three. There's 5 colors in this from what I see, and that's it. Signature on the top, nothing fancy. Irene Dash company as well. Again, she didn't make every one, but there's other companies that you might find cards from Earl as well too. So 115 on that lot. Now this one here, many of these were made. This is there's a big assortment of similar ones to this one, and this isn't the only one from this set. There's many other ones that are anthropomorphic Christmas ornaments, and those do very, very well. 75 bucks for this one. If you look up online, you'll probably find a half a dozen, maybe even a dozen of these that have sold in this price range in the last, say, month or two. So they're not super, super rare. They were made in mass quantities. They're just, most people don't think they hold a value. They don't list the individual cards. They'll just throw them together in a lot, you know, a whole bunch all together. Most people go for the quick dollar one. Will sell all the Christmas cards in 1 or 2 lots, thinking they're going to rake out that way. But if you're careful and you pull out these type, you can pull these out, sell these separately, and then junk up all the ones that aren't worth listing separately into those big bulk lots. But probably 90% of everybody I've seen, or any of the listings I've looked at, or any of the people I talk to, will just throw all these together in a big lot and won't even mess with them. It's only a small percentage of people that would list this separately, and then you're losing out because you could have sold the whole lot for maybe 50 or 60, but this card alone can go for 75 to 100 bucks. Another box set. Does it? No, this one doesn't say MCM. Another term here. They've got the gay trio, and that's literally what it says on the side. Again, it's just the amount of cards you get in there. Don't pay any attention to the titles. The character candles are probably part of the cute aspect of this, as is Santa pulling the sleigh. The poodle should do very well. The bottom images are decent as well too. So it's just a nice example of some Christmas cards. Now, some of these don't go to the box. So the ones on the cover are the ones that are supposed to be in the box. They're just other ones in here with it. So some of these other ones in here might have sold on their own. Like the Go 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 one, I would have probably tried to sell that on my own. As well as the Nothing on My Mind card also. Maybe even the Swing one too. It's hard to say. The Stick People one might have been done well on their own. Yeah, see, on some of these people are grouping them together. Like the Santa Claus Cooking, that one's probably a $20 one. The High Sugar Merry Christmas, that might have been 20 bucks too. And then you can see the Santa underneath it that those 3 are sitting on. That might have been a good one as well. So don't just consider them individually. This person should have split these up. Like the reindeer, the expression may be different, but... Or the mouse. Again, I would have split this one up. This person, it looks like they almost gave some away. That's my take on it. Because again, most of these don't go with this set from what I would say. Now again, De La Rue, and I've talked about bugs. There will be bugs without the fancy border, just bugs wishing you a Merry Christmas. They're always good ones to get. Most of the bugs are $57.50 from me or higher, every single one of them. This one went for 72 bucks. Salvation Army, this is an early one. Nice example. Salvation Army started in England, if I'm not mistaken. There's actually a school one, an academy, and the whole works that goes around these. Rather unique one here. I'm surprised this one didn't go for a little more money. Maybe because it's from England. And here in the U.S., I bet you this one would have went for a little more. 72 bucks basically U.S. Here is another original box, 15 unused. Enchanted, that Santa is a killer one there. It's the same color as the card itself. Really unique. The black ones are just awesome. This is one of my favorite ones for design-wise. Even the Pine Chromes is really unique here. Nice example of vintage mod mid-century cards here. Just my opinion. 85 bucks. This one might have sold for a little more, possibly. Now, here's a woman cartoonist who did them. And again, you can find these for all different types. I've showed you a bunch of circus ones that I had. I've got a couple hundred circus Christmas cards, as well as performers and things like that in general. 70 bucks on this one. Let's move on. 1967 Christmas one. This is for staff members. Anybody who worked at Disney got one of these. And in 1967, there was probably 4,000 or 5,000 Disney employees, if not maybe a few more than that. So again, don't be discouraged. This is a nice, unique one with a calendar as well. Really good example here. These are printed by Disney. This one's Walt Disney Productions. If I'm not mistaken, they stopped using Walt Disney Productions in 1969. And I know the newer one is the Walt Disney Company as well. So now here's a George Bush one. I've had this exact card. So Again, don't think they're super rare. 69 bucks, nothing super spectacular. Let's move on. Now this is a unique one. It has mica or beads. That actually looks like beads. They'll put glass beads on some of these earlier ones. And Christmas cards, postcard-wise, you'll see them on postcards as well. I've showed you some bead cards. So this was just a unique one because of the martini, the drinking aspect of it. It's a martini shaker they're giving with a martini glass. Maybe a mint julep on the left there as well. You can see the mint leaves in it. So rather unique one, $67. This is barware. This is considered barware. This is a Hallmark card on top of it. Used or not, doesn't matter. You can see signatures in there. Hallmark card. Probably, you can see a date too. I can't quite read it, but there's a date on it too. Here's a Prang card. Prang's another company that will sell Prang. Again, not as high priced as the Raphael Tuck though, but these Egyptian cards I usually get more for this. I think they probably should have priced it maybe a little higher in my book as a bin instead of an auction. Something like this I would have probably taken $125 for. Look at my prices. You know I'm telling you the truth on that. Don't underprice them. An auction is not the way to go on stuff like this. $125 out the door. Guarantee you no one's seen this design before. It probably would have sold straight out for $125. Now here's another interesting one. This is a Japanese propaganda drop leaflet Christmas card. Let's see here. And it says it isn't our war. Rather interesting, trying to dictate that, you're fighting for someone else's war. 14 bids, $65. How would you know this was a Japanese propaganda? Well, there's books out there, collectibles for military, and this type of item is in those books, so... Now, here's an example of something that I look for, too. This reminds me of modern-day ones, but this is a vintage early one, probably 1880s, 1890s. Rather unique, $63. These will show up with modern-day Christmas cards, 20s, 30s Christmas cards, and most people just don't know the difference between a 1880s, 90s Christmas card and a 1910, 1920s Christmas card. There is a difference, but most people don't know it. Another anthropomorphic, this is a Greyhound. There's a whole series of these by Marcus Ward. Rather unique, interesting ones. Same size as a postcard, basically. In fact, Marcus Ward carried over and did make postcards, later on in its time frame. $63, 5 bids. Another unused one. As I said, these cute little babies and cherubs always sell. Regardless of whether it has the border or not, it's a nice, unique one. This was signed by Charlotte Beige, I think it's pronounced. Even if it wasn't signed by her, I bet you these would have still sold. It's along the same lines of the other one I showed you just a few minutes ago with the birds and the little baby angel. It's what you look for in these. The little babies like this are small children, winged angels with birds, always seem to sell. I don't know what it is, but those are the ones that I always have super good luck with right off the bat. They don't sit around long. This is one of those iffy ones. You might have put this up for $95 and just sold it straight out. This one's an auction. I probably would have just done $95. I don't like auctions. I can control the price better on a bin BO versus an auction. And I would never, ever, 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 ever recommend doing 99-cent auctions. Now, I've seen videos recently of people posting how to make a lot of money on 99-cent auctions. It's not the case. Maybe it's a lot of money you're thinking when you see it's a 99-cent item sells for $35, $40. But had you put it up for a bin, that same item might have sold for $75 because there's no competition and the person thinks that it might actually sell for that much. 99-cent auctions are not the way to go. When you're doing 99-cent auctions, maybe you're selling 5 times what I am, but you're doing 5 times the amount of work, and they're selling for pennies in some cases. I come out far ahead. I come out way ahead more than anybody doing these 99-cent auctions. 99-cent auctions should be a thing of the past. It shouldn't be something that people do anymore, in all honesty. The people that I see doing 99-cent auctions, they don't have the full grasp on marking them up high, I guess. They're following along with everybody else's philosophy. 99-cent auctions are not the way to go. I promise you, I've done tons of stuff and research on this. I stopped doing them a long time ago. Auctions are not the way to go. Most people would rather spend a little more and just get it. Because in an auction, it could go higher than they expect. That's why you bin them with a BO high. You're going to get a better chance on selling them. Again, there's 8 bids. There might be 2 or 3 different people bidding on these. You're blowing your wheels when you do those auctions at 99 cents. I cringe when I see people saying that, in all honesty, because it's not the way to go for these type of items. You're just giving them away. You're lowballing yourself. Bin them. bid them, because you're going to get some offers on if it's something that somebody wants. They don't know what it could go for. These people, it only went for $61 because one person decided he didn't want to bid anymore. The winner could have went and wanted to bid $125 max on these, but since no one bid him up, it didn't go for that much money. Now, I don't know what his amount was that he'd go up to, but that's the case on how this works. You know, the person might have put a 125 bid in, and if no one else is bidding up against him, it stops at where that other bidder was. So the other bidder stopped at 61. Had this person put this up for 125, and if this person would have went up to 125, it may have just sold for 125 and been done with it. Again, I do cringe when I see people doing the 99-cent auctions. You're working 4 or 5 times as hard as me. I send out higher dollar items and less of them, but I'm making more than you. I promise you, I make more than you. I don't have a separate fee on each one too when you're selling them individually. There's no eBay processing fees or the extra quarters. None of that stuff. You sell them as a bin, and it's just so much better. I'm just telling you on these type of items. Don't sell yourself short. If everybody switched to that system, everybody would be getting more money on it. It drives me nuts sometimes. Pet peeve, I guess. Don't do 99-cent auctions. Now here's a Star Wars one from 2003. Lucasfilm sent out ones constantly to tons of different people. And not from specifically Lucasfilms, it's from people who work there. So you have access to these to send them out as an employee. So there's a bunch of these around. They've been making Lucasfilms Christmas cards since 1977, or at least a form of them since like 77, 78. And they're still making them today. So just another good example. Now here's an actual signed one by Mike Peters, which is the creator of Grimm, if you didn't know that. So I don't know if this is a hand-drawn card. Probably not, but yeah, greeting card print. It's a print, and he signed it. So just another good example of some of this items that you could find. So there are Christmas cards of Grimm. I promise you, I've seen them. Now here's one example where somebody sold this all together. I get about $34.50 a piece for some of these cards. So this is one of those. This was a bin, buy it now, best offer. I think it was just a bin, no best offer. They would have done far better selling them individually, one at a time. The Steve Canyon alone goes for $34 to $45. You know, these people just gave it away too cheap. Little iodine. Again, $34.50 a piece to $57.50. I would have listed each one of these cards for. I would have sold the box separately. I would have most definitely split this up, and I would have listed this in the comic book section. Let's see where they've listed it. Yeah, they at least listed it in the comics section. I would have split them up, though. Definitely, 100%. This one has been way too quickly. Now here's a unique Atomic Space Age ones. Again, anything Atomic Space Age like this goes for some good money. I have never had an issue selling any of these. I've got one with Santa flying in a rocket. I spent $1 for a box of them. I did not sell it as a box. I've sold 8 or 9 of them for $75 a piece. These Christmas cards I paid $1 for. Not like this, but they're have them in a rocket. I still have a few left. I've had them for 3 years, but I've made so much money that, you know, the 2 cents or so it costs to list a month is nothing. Even if they run for 5 years, I've still made hundreds of dollars off these type of items. $58.98 on these. These might have been something you could have sold separately, but it's iffy on this one here. I might have done one at a time just to see how much I could get out of the first one. I wouldn't have sold them as a lot initially. Maybe just one and then see. Now here we go into some of mine. Now this is a Christmas card that I sold. I do believe I showed it in a haul video, but these are all mine from this point on. This is in the first or second page of all of Christmas cards. So the stuff sells, $57.50. Just an example of mine. These are hand-painted or a silkscreen with paint over it as well. Another one of mine, F.A.O. Schwartz, 1880s, $57.50. Now, I sold 4 or 5 of this one here, this same similar style version. So, again, these all go for some good money. This is an advertisement about the size of a postcard again. Postcard dealers, you'll find it. And then I talked about Christmas pudding. Now they've eaten it. Was a big ball, and this is a 4-card set. In the very first card, you see the cats bringing it out, then dishing it out, and then here you go. There's one more after this where they're all stuffed and lounging around after they've eaten the Christmas pudding. $57.50, as I said. This is the same basic design as I showed you on the other ones. Rounded corners, the whole works. There's a whole set of these types of cards. Good example of anthropomorphic Christmas cats. Another one of mine, Christmas Cat. Another good example of what you expect and what you should find on these. And this is another Hildesheimer card as well, too. So 5750. This is a fantasy one, 5750. Again, the Christmas cards I rake out on, these were sold in midsummer for 5750, my asking price. I've had this same one before. Last time I got 3450 out of it. I listed it at 5750 last time as well. I took an offer. I don't care if I sold it for 5750 this time and the next time somebody offers me 3450, I'll still take the 3450, even though I sold one for 5750. There's only so many buyers for each item at a certain price. So don't expect that every card, if you sell two of them for 5750, the third one you have to get 5750 for. Just keep that in thought on this. There's only so many people that'll buy any specific item. So, and just another one again, mine as well. Another set of Christmas kittens, basically, on this one. So just another good example of what you would expect. 5750 on this set. 5750 on this set of 4. They're small. They're only 1 1/8 wide by 3 1/4 inches tall. So for 4 of them, I got 5750 on these. These show up in like gum cards and things like that. This one I don't remember where it came from. I've had it for a while, but that's the philosophy on Christmas cards. You've got to dig for them. These are just the last 5 I just happened to pick for you. There's probably 100 of mine in the first couple pages, at least the first 4 pages of eBay listings. I've got a ton of cards that I sell. Some of these I probably have never shown you in haul videos. Some of these have sold a month or 2 ago. But this is the stuff I sell routinely throughout summer, throughout fall, winter, spring. Right after Christmas and in January, I'm still selling these. In midsummer and in 4th of July time frame, I'm still selling these. Same price range, same everything. Cats and Christmas go together. They always sell. I always get good money for them. So don't think the stuff isn't going to show up. Don't think you're not going to find it. Most people, again, aren't looking for it. They just pass this stuff by. I just can't express that enough. How often somebody passes this stuff by. How often I walk right behind somebody at a sale and they just walked right by a big stack of stuff like this. They might have damage to them, or it might be big, just thrown in a bag or anything like that. I always look for this stuff. We always make good money on it. You're missing out if you're not paying attention to this. Don't just look at it with a quick glance. If they're in envelopes, take them out of the envelopes, look at them. Look at names like Hallmark or Rustcraft or Norcross or any of these other names that you find on these. They're worth money. They're worth your time. They're worth your investigation into them. They're worth it. Not everyone. You have a learning curve where you might be buying some ones that aren't worth a ton of money, but you can look up some of these. A lot of the earlier ones are just a given, but like a De La Rue, a couple bucks for any De La Rue, you're always safe. That's one name that I would always recommend buying. Not every De La Rue, though, is worth, 50 plus bucks, but the majority of them are worth at least 10. So if you see something marked De La Rue, I would hop on it. If it's marked Raphael Tuck, it's Christmas or Halloween, it's in really nice condition, it's $1 or $2, I would probably hop on that as well, because you really can't go wrong. Most, Raphael Tucks go for at least 10 bucks as well. So anyway, that's what I have for you. Well, there you are. Hopefully that gave you some thoughts on this. It's an area I always sell in, and as you saw, the last big grouping of them were just mine. That's literally the order they are in the sold listings, my listings, all in a row just like that. I've got a ton in the first 2 pages of results, just because I center in on this stuff. And, I don't pass them by. I don't discourage them or look away from them thinking they're just not high-value cards. Even $10 or $15 cards are fine with me, because it beats selling a T-shirt for 10 bucks free shipping, that you paid $2 or $3 for, that you're only making a couple bucks on. I've got nothing in the paper, and almost every card that you could think of can be scanned with the duplex scanner. So you're scanning both sides of them all at the same time. The duplex scanner on a 72 DPI will just zip through anything in a matter of seconds, like 3 seconds you can scan anything, both sides all at once, and you're done. There's no time consideration. And to list a piece of paper like that, there's usually no editing to the photos. What comes out of the scanner is all set, ready to go, and you just upload it. That's it. I mean, there isn't much to listing paper in general. My guys, or pretty much anybody who works for me, can list like on average, maybe 30 at most an hour. The least probably around 24 or so an hour you can list in paper, just because it's so easy to list. I don't use VAs or any of that stuff either. I want it all in-house. I want to control everything that goes on. Not to be a control freak, but this is my money. This is my business, and there's a whole bunch of horror stories of VAs and all this other stuff. So it's just not my thing. Nothing wrong with it if you do it. I'm not saying it doesn't work for everybody, but my personal opinion is that I won't use one. So anyway, again, as always, leave any comments or questions, and I hope you enjoyed it. Have a good day.